The other day in one of the Facebook groups, I saw a law firm owner ask the question of how can I run a report inside of Clio Manage that will show me all the clients that I haven't called in the last 30 days. The current solution was defining a custom field on the Clio Manage Matter and then the staff having to manually update that field every time they phoned the client, which obviously led to inconsistent data as people forgot to do that, plus extra admin load on the team. In this video, I'm going to show you a very simple automation in Zapier that will be able to automate that process so that whenever your team logs a new communication, be that a phone communication, an email communication, or either of them, the field of last contact date is updated automatically in Clio Manage Matter, and you can then use it, right, either simply visually see it in the matters list over here, or be able to use it in your exports, right, and analyze the data in Excel to, again, for example, run a report of everybody who wasn't contacted in the last 30 days. Let's get going. Hey there, my name is Martin Kravchenko and I'm the CTO at Swans, where we help law firms convert their practices into sustainable and scalable businesses through our operations and technology consulting and implementation services. All right, let's get things going. The first prerequisite step before working with this automation is that we need to go to our settings in Clio Manage, go into custom fields over here, and define a new custom field, for example, called last contact date, last phone communication date, or something of the kind. Now make sure that in the data type you select a date so that it properly understands that this is an actual date field. All right, once we have done that, the idea would be that whenever a new phone communication, right, a new phone communication, email communication is logged on the matter, right, let's say, for example, this check-in call over here on the 31st of January, that this custom field of last contact date is updated, right, and then we can use it in all of our reports and inside of our Clio Manage account. Let's see how this is set up in Zapier. Again, very simple automation. The trigger for it will be a new communication, right? It's a trigger event. You just search it up over here, new communication, triggers when a new communication is created, right? If we test it out, we get an information about the event itself, its body, the matter that it is linked to, if it is linked to a specific matter, the senders, the subject, and also whether it is a phone communication or an email communication, right? Now, the next action that we have over here is finding the matter. We are looking up the matter's details to check what is the current value of the last contact date. Now, this step is not strictly necessary. If you are simply logging communications for today's date, this step won't be required. You can just delete it and go directly into steps 3 and 4. However, in the case that you potentially or your staff may potentially be logging communications done, let's say 3 days ago or 4 days ago, whatever it is, we would need to first check that the date of the communication being logged is not earlier than the last contact date that we already have on the matter, right? And to do that check, we'll need to first look up the current value of that field. Keep in mind that this will spend an extra operation, an extra task in your Zapier account. So keep that in mind. Again, not strictly necessary if you're logging communications just for today's date, in which case, again, this step is not needed. Right, but what we're getting from here is we are getting all the information about the matter, including, if you look it up, over here, the last contact date, right? And again, potentially it is empty, potentially already it has a value. The next step that we do is we have a filter, right? And here we can define a few things. So first of all, we are checking that the communication is actually linked to a specific matter, right? So we have gone into this new communication in Clio over here, we looked up the matter ID, and in case that communication is linked to a matter, this matter ID will exist. The next thing that we are checking is the type of the communication, right? So for this particular use case, this law firm owner only wanted to be tracking phone communications, right? So in this case, we are checking that the type exactly matches phone communication. In case it would be just for emails, you could say email communication over here. And in case you want to be tracking it for both, you can just remove this rule and not have that extra filter in there. And lastly, we are checking that the date of the communication that we are logging is after the last contact date that we already have on the matter. Again, that's the rationale I explained a bit earlier. In case you are doing that just for today's date, you are only logging communications for today's date, you again don't need this rule, you can remove it. The other thing that I'm checking is that the last contact date potentially doesn't exist for the matters that again haven't had any communications previously, in which case again we want to continue the execution even if there is no value in there. All right, after that, if the filter has been passed, i.e. it has been connected to the matter, it is a phone communication, and it is later than the current last contact date on the matter that is already set, we're going to be updating the matter with the date of that communication. Very simply, we're passing the matter ID from the first step, and in here down below in custom fields, we have our last contact date, and we're passing the date of the communication from the first step. Very simple. Now keep in mind that this automation will run pretty much instantly as soon as you create a new communication in your account. Let's click publish and see exactly how it works. All right, we can go to Zapier over here. And let me now create a new communication on this matter. As you can see, right, our last contact date was 31st of January. So let's log a new phone communication. Let's enter, let's say, I don't know, check and call. It doesn't really matter. And the date and time, for example, will be, I don't know, the 4th of February, right? Click Save Phone Log. As you can see, it pops up here in the list. And if we now go back and refresh, we'll be able to see that the last contact date has been updated to the 4th of February. Now, in case, for example, that we do an email log, with a later date, let's say the 5th of February, right over here. Again, considering we are filtering those things out, it won't actually update the last contact date and will remain the same. There we go, it's 4th of February. If we go to Zapier, we can see these two runs, right? So this one was a success, right? And this one got filtered out because it wasn't a phone communication in this case. All right, so how do then we actually use this field, last contact date? How can we use it in practice after we have implemented this automation? It is populating those fields automatically. In our matters list, what we can do is we can click columns over here, and we can select a certain custom fields that we also want displayed, right? So we can search up last contact date. We can add it here, click update columns. As you can see, we have the last contact date then for each one of our matters over here displayed very easily. Now, the small downside of this, you can't really sort by it directly in the matters list interface, but what you can do is you can apply certain filters, right? So what you can say, for example, is, hey, I want to see all matters that had the last contact date more than 30 days ago, right? Well, you can go into the filter over here. You can add a custom field filter. Let's search up our last contact date field. And we're going to say it is before, and then just calculate 30 days from today's date, right? So today is the 31st of January. Let's say the last contact date is before the 1st of January. Click Apply Filters. And just like that, we have a list of all the matters that had their last contact date more than 30 days in the past. Now, keep in mind that this filter won't show the matters that haven't yet had any contact with them, right? So keep that in mind. And another way that you can use this data is you can actually export it, right? You can export it as CSV. You can either export just the visible columns or all of the available columns, and then use that last contact date field inside of your Excel or Google Sheets to run some extra analysis on that, if you so wish. Now, I hope that you have enjoyed this video, you got some value out of it. If you have any questions, please let me know. I will also include in the link down below, I'll include the link to the template in Zapier, so you can import it into your account, change it up as it's needed, potentially, again, like as I said, remove the second step over here if you just log in communications for today's date, and then start using it in your practice. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.